Hi everybody, and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. So I met my goal of increasing my net worth by over $20,000 in the year 2020. I very much legitimately did this on a third-year teacher salary, only working 10 months out of the year and having my income impacted by COVID. I first want to say that I've been very privileged during this time that has been financially disastrous for so many people, including many people close to me, so I do not discount that at all. That being said, this is not going to be one of those videos that's like 10 ways that I saved 20K in 2020, and then number 10 is like, my parents gave me $10,000. You're not gonna find any silver spoons here, just the very real steps that I took, some short-term and many over a long period of time, to be able to save this much. I'm going to organize these steps from most immediate to long-term. While it would be great for me to give you a bunch of tips that you could take and make actionable right away, the reality is that I would not have been able to do so many of these things without following steps over a really long period of time to create this kind of growth. That just isn't how money works. So, no get rich quick tips here, but these are truly and legitimately the ways that I was able to save over $20,000 in 1 year, even as a teacher. And what I'm most excited about is that I didn't have to sacrifice the balanced lifestyle that I wanted to live. I will say that almost none of these tips are going to be about how to cut down on your expenses in order to save more. Instead, over time, I've created a budget that really prioritizes the things that are important to me and cuts back when it can on the things that aren't. Still, many of the personal finance creators that I follow and many who I am even friends with would probably have an existential crisis if they spent as much as me on certain things like rent or dining out. So if you're looking for somebody to tell you to cut costs, I am absolutely not your girl. But if you're looking for someone to show you how to make big growth over time while still maintaining a balanced and unfrugal lifestyle, then welcome to Teachers Talk Money. So let's get into all of the steps that I took to be able to save 20K in 1 year. The first thing I want to talk about is earning extra income. One of the main reasons I'm able to do this on a teacher's salary is that I work in a very high-paying district, and that was a priority to me in my job search, among other things. I also have side hustles, extra jobs on top of my teaching career. I coach a sport at my school, and I am the newspaper sponsor, and those are both things that I love doing and I get paid for. And also, while this doesn't hold true this year, I did have another coaching job last year in 2019, and I worked over the summer in 2019 as well. So all of this extra income has sort of worked to help me get where I am over time. Also, while I'm still on the first ladder on my salary scale, I'm working towards getting onto higher ladders, and that is something that, once again, is a really important step to take. Step number 2 is keeping a budget. Stop what you're doing. Don't skip this step just because I'm talking about a budget and you don't want to hear it. Listen to what I have to say, because legitimately every other step I was able to do after this one came from the fact that I had an intentional plan for my money. Now, I told you I'm not going to tell you to cut your expenses. A lot of people think that keeping a budget means that you're super tight and strict with your spending, but that is absolutely not true at all. Your budget is simply a plan for your money each month. Having a plan for my money has been the most powerful tool that has allowed me to get where I am today. While earning more money is immensely helpful, especially if you have a lower salary like myself, it can sometimes be completely useless if you don't actually have a plan to optimize the money that you do have. That's why people that make double what I make can sometimes end up being super broke or even with a negative net worth. I would say most people fall into the category of not having any awareness of where they're allocating their income, and that is probably the biggest mistake. Obviously, having a livable wage is a prerequisite to any of this working, but the next important thing is to make sure you are managing everything that comes into your hands well. Again, budgeting is probably the least sexy sounding thing in all of the steps that I'm going to give you today, but at the same time, it has been the most important. The next thing I did to be able to earn $20,000 in a year is eliminating my debt as early as possible. You can check out my debt story video to get more of a picture of this, but the gist of it is that I paid off $13,500 of debt during my first year teaching. This is potentially the only step or category where cutting expenses sort of came into play, because I did sacrifice some things while I was getting out of debt. It wasn't that I told myself I could never have a latte or that I never dined out or anything like that. I still lived a balanced lifestyle in some ways. Instead, I mostly just lived somewhere that I didn't love living as much as the current area that I live in, and that saved me hundreds of dollars every month. So if there's anything to get out of this video about cutting expenses, it's not that you need to every day suffer or not do things that add value to your life, but instead it should be that sometimes you do need to make short-term sacrifices as long as you have an end goal in mind. You should not be sacrificing things your entire life. And secondly, you should not be worrying about those $3 to $5 things here or there adding up to what, like $1,000 a year at most. That's not what we're concerned about here. I made a sacrifice that would lower my expenses by hundreds of dollars a month. So look at those bigger things you can do instead of focusing on the small things and feeling like a failure if you bought a piece of avocado toast. So again, if there's anything to get out of this video about cutting expenses, you should only be doing it for a short-term amount of time. And secondly, don't worry about the little things, worry about the big expenses. Finally, we're going to talk about the fourth step, and this one is the secret sauce, okay? Because you're probably doing this math in your head. And if you're doing it, you're thinking, okay, after taxes, Rachel probably makes about $35,000. You're correct. So how on earth would she be able to save $20,000 and be able to live any kind of livable lifestyle? The answer is I didn't just straight up save $20,000 this year. Nowhere close to that. In fact, if you go to my yearly spending video, you can see that I spent about $25,000 this year. All in all, I totaled up literally all of my expenses and put them in a video for you guys, so you should go check it out. So after all of that spending, after $25K of spending, that only leaves about $10,000. So how on earth was I able to save $20,000? I'll tell you. The deep dark secret is, which it isn't a secret because I talk about it in every video, it's that I earned a ton of passive income through investing and keeping my money invested over time. A huge portion of the money that I don't spend every month gets invested, and that money grows interest on top of itself. And then that interest goes on to earn its own interest, and so on and so forth. You've probably heard of this magical thing before. It is called compound interest, and Albert Einstein called it one of the greatest wonders of the world, and he was absolutely right. It's called compound interest because, of course, the interest keeps compounding on itself to grow more and more. An example of this is that in the last 2 months, I earned over $600 each month just in interest on my investment. So that was not money I deposited. That's money that it grew on top of the money that I deposited. So a ton of growth in my net worth this year did not come from me putting it aside or making those straight up deposits. It came from the fact that I've been slowly and consistently depositing money into my investments, and that money has passively been growing, which is just as magical as it sounds. That fact never loses novelty for me. When I saw that my interest had grown $600 without me even doing anything last month, I was just as excited as the first time I saw passive income. And that's because I know the value of that money. That is a ton of money to me. Even last year, being able to straight up deposit $600 would have felt amazing in a month. And this year, that's getting deposited on top of what I'm already investing. And all I did was work on this slowly over time. I'm going to link a video on investing down in the description because I know you guys are gonna have a lot of questions, so go and check that out. But this isn't fake, this is not gimmicky. Again, it's not even a get rich quick thing, it is a get rich slowly thing. And I think it is the #1 most important thing for everyone to learn, but specifically low income earners. Because guess what? If I made $100,000 a year like some people do, I would have absolutely no problem putting aside 20K of that. That would be easy mode for me. But it literally would not be possible for me to grow my net worth by $20,000 in 1 year through just straight up saving that money. Only way that it was possible is that fact that I have been investing over time. So even on an early teacher's salary, I have the opportunity to grow my money a ton with my intentional money plan, with earning as much as possible, but most importantly, with consistently investing over time. So that is how I grew my net worth as a third-year teacher by over $20,000 in 2020. You guys can go back and check all of my net worth updates from the past year to see how that paced out. And exactly, I actually earned closer to $21,000 this year. So that is incredible. And I can't wait to see what I'm gonna do next year. The goal is 30K, so we'll see what happens. I hope that this excites you and blows your mind as much as it excites me and has blown my mind with this. Please make sure to like this video, comment on any questions you have or what your investing plan is, and subscribe to my channel because it makes a huge difference in me being able to get this message out to as many people as possible. Have an amazing week, you guys, and I will see you with another video next week. Bye!